Welcome back to another episode of the Breakthrough Bestie podcast, where we explore the intersection of faith, finances, and the decisions that shape our future. For those of you that are new here, I am your host, Angela Brock, and I am a money strategist for women who are ready to take control and build real wealth. So, listen, April is National Financial Literacy Month. So, this month, all month, we're going to be diving into stories that go beyond just budgets, bank accounts. No, we're going to be talking about trust, obedience, stewardship, and breakthrough. Each episode is going to feature honest conversations with guests who have actually walked this out, and they've had some financial highs and financial lows, but have found God in the midst of it all. So, whether you are building, rebuilding, learning, or thriving, these stories will challenge, encourage, and equip you to handle your money with wisdom and in faith. Listen, I am so excited. I'm excited about all my guests, but I'm super excited about today's conversation because I feel like it is for anyone who has ever felt like they were starting from behind financially. And this
Mm.
isn't just about buying a house, right? And I think we're going to talk about that. I feel like this story that my guest is going to share is really what happens when faith meets action. So I want to welcome DeLisa Perry to the podcast. DeLisa is a wife, a mother of four, a ministry leader. She serves at my church, y'all. She is my Connect group leader. Praise the Lamb. She has served in full time ministry alongside her husband, Sean, for over 7 years. Delisa encourages others to trust God fully, steward their lives well, and follow his direction with confidence, all about believing that obedience unlocks provision and purpose. So, welcome to the podcast, Delisa.
Thank you. Such an
I'm
honor to be here.
so happy. Yeah, I'm so happy that you're here. And I know we only have a short time, so I want to just dive in if that's okay.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. All right. So, listen, can you take us back to the season when you said that you almost lost everything? And maybe if you want to set the stage for people who may not know your story, do that first, and then we can dive into that moment where you almost lost everything.
Ooh, we're gonna take it back there. So my husband and I, we were in church one weekend. Don't know if it was a Saturday or a Sunday, but we were both serving in church in our various areas. He was on production at the time, and I was on the prayer team. And during worship, it was very strong, like, this is what you're supposed to do. And so both of us got back in the car, and I kind of didn't want to say anything. At the time, my husband had a really great job, and he had finally gotten to the place that he had been working for years. When I say years, I'm talking about a decade. Um, and insurance was good. Like, everything was good. It was looking up. And here we are, and the Lord is like, you're supposed to be in full-time vocational ministry. And I'm like, oh, mm-mm. So I wasn't gonna say anything. I was gonna wait. I was going to sit on it for a minute. And then my husband turns to me. He's like, yeah, I think the Lord is calling us into full-time vocational ministry. And I was like, I think we need to pray and fast on that. So we did. We did. He just happened to be that following week. He just happened to be on PTO, and so we took that time to really pray and to fast. And that following weekend at church, it was like confirmation after confirmation from multiple people. And so we did the thing. We made a plan. We pulled out 401k. We were like, we can last up for about this many months. We're gonna be good, but we're gonna look for jobs that, because at the time he was an executive in executive leadership for retail. And so if you know retail, you have to work on weekends, and we wanted to be more involved in our church on the weekends. And so we were both looking for jobs, both have our college degree, all the things. And we were like, it's going to be easy. It's going to be easy. For a year, nobody, nobody found a job. And it was only by the grace of God that we made it. But all of the credit cards were maxed out. Um, the accounts were in the deep red,
Mm,
like not just a few dollars. let's try thousands. And at the time we are doing the thing in ministry, and we'll find odd jobs like babysitting. He worked in someone's house, a little money under the table, all the things. Like, we were doing multiple things, but we were roughing it. And we had our one daughter at the time, and like, it was nothing but the grace of God. But we did lose a lot in that. We lost a vehicle. Like I said, credit cards were maxed out. And we just had people come around us, and it was like, kind of at that year mark, the Lord opened up multiple doors. So for him, it was a substitute uh position, but it was like a permanent sub, which I've never heard of in my life.
Mhm.
But it was a permanent sub at this school, brand new school, beautiful school, for a year. Someone gave us a vehicle. It was just all these things. Someone sowed seeds, and someone came up to us in church and gave us like a handful of cash, like an envelope
Wow.
full of cash.
So
Like,
hold on,
the
hold
Lord.
on. Because here's something that I want people to maybe I want to pause here for a second because I think that there's
Mhm,
this idea of what obedience looks like. And
mhm,
especially when you're obedient to God and you say yes and you're all excited, right? And then you make a plan and whatever that plan is, but that obedience road ain't smooth. And I
it's
think
not.
that I think people be like, man, I'm gonna go and work in ministry. And then unless you've not worked in ministry before, like you may have this idea of what does it
Mhm.
look like to say yes to God. And then, the ones and the math don't start math and then you got to carry and
Yep.
borrow and there is some loss. And so I'm curious, was there ever a time during that year period where you guys were losing things and like you said, you lost a car, credit cards maxed out, which I'm sure took, your credit score took a hit, right? Did you guys ever doubt that, what you heard from God? Like, was there ever a conversation of, wait, listen,
So I think both of us had our seasons, and I'm so grateful that when one of us is down, the other one is on the high, and like,
yeah,
very encouraging, very inward, very in God's presence, and has something to say to encourage the other. And then sometimes the other one is down, and it switches roles. But I'm so glad that we had each other during that time.
yeah,
I don't think there was a time that we doubted God, but we were honestly like, God, did we miss something?
mm,
Were we supposed to do something else with this or that? And it just, we were like, maybe we missed something. So for us, it wasn't doubting, because the way the Lord spoke, how he spoke to both of us, the very same thing, and how he confirmed it so very quickly through multiple people. And like, people would speak the visions that we had in a dream that nobody would know unless the Lord spoke to them, and spoke through them. And so we never doubted what God said, but we doubted our position in it. Like, maybe we did something wrong. And honestly, in that season, it was a lot of taking off guilt, taking off shame, taking off pride. Because one thing that my husband was very prideful for is his high credit score, which that was not the case at the time. But
yeah,
I will tell you, I was down bad one day. And I was just like, Lord, this does not look like what you said.
yeah,
Take me to heaven. It's time to go.
mm, yeah,
Let the rapture come now, because this
yeah,
is this is whack.
yeah,
I just left someone's house. They had just had these baby twins that they've been believing God for. I left their house. I cooked food. I helped them with the babies, and the car, the one cash vehicle that we did have, it broke down on me. And I stopped in front of a church, and they closed up shop right when I was parking, and I was trying to get help. Rolled up out of there, and I was like, "Ain't this about a something?" Of course, my husband doesn't have we lost a vehicle, so he didn't have a vehicle to come get me at the time. And this is before someone gave us another, like, and it was really bad.
yeah,
And that night I got home. I finally got home like 2 hours later. I had to ask another family member to come pick me up. And I was like, we out here doing your work. We're doing
yeah,
apartment ministry. We're serving at church. Like, everything we do is for you. And this is what we get.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want it. take me to
Yeah.
heaven now. And I'm just honest. That is what I said to my husband. He was like, Delisa, it's gonna be all right. Like,
You
God's
laugh,
got it.
but I think that that's such a, and I thank you so much for your vulnerability and your transparency, because I feel like people think that you just be like out here trusting God no matter what comes and you're not shaken. Sometimes it feels easier to give up and just be like,
Mhm.
in your instance, you're like, just go and take me to heaven. Some people are like, I mean, this is harder than it was working a regular job and,
Yeah.
living in the world and being of the world, right? And sometimes when we say yes to God, your confidence in your ability to actually follow him, man, like it's going to be tested, right? And like you said,
Mhm.
it wasn't necessarily that you didn't trust God, right? Your faith was pretty sound, but it was almost like, maybe we missed something, or I don't know that I have everything that I'm supposed to have, all the tools, all the knowledge,
Right.
all the wisdom, all the know-how in order to be able to actually walk this out. So
Right.
that's tough for sure.
Mhm. And I will say, like, before we even got there, I am grateful for that season because it helped me to be frugal. And now we have 4 kids, so it just helped me to be frugal.
Yeah.
But before that, we had done the whole Dave Ramsey thing and all the things, and we were like working on paying off all this thing. Of course, we had student loans, but we had worked hard to
Yeah.
get where we were, and we thought that it was not going to look like that.
Mm.
And I will
That's
say, even when we,
interesting,
yeah,
because
I
like
will
you
say,
said that you
oh, I'm
you
sorry.
had so you mentioned that you guys were doing Dave Ramsey's program and you was actually working the steps, right?
Hmm.
And then
Before,
before this happened, right? And then
hmm
in this particular season, everything that you knew, right, just kind of was put on pause. I'm going to say it didn't go out the window, right? But it was almost like the season required a different type of budgeting, a different type of management of your
right,
finances that
right,
really was led not with knowledge, but with faith, trusting God to multiply,
hmm
trusting God to expand, trusting God to provide,
hmm
because you can't do a baby step if you don't have a you
if you
don't
don't
have
have nothing coming in,
you don't have anything coming in, right? And I think that
yeah,
that's the thing where it's like some people would actually be like, listen, I can't even budget right now because I don't have anything coming in. But it sounds like you guys were budgeting, but budgeting very differently, leading with faith and not just with your finances. Is that correct?
right,
Yeah.
right. And so, I mean, when we did have money, we were still coming in. We were still tithing. We were still doing what we could to manage in, like, a little bit here and a little bit there. But I mean, it was a very hard season. And going back, like when we did our taxes that year, we were like, I don't know, or the following year, we were like, I don't know how we. There is no way we could have made it,
Yeah.
but God, because the year before that, we had made in that one year a seventh, one
Wow.
seventh of what we were making before.
Wow.
Unreal. So, I mean, anytime God has blessed us in our life, it has been a huge faith move. And I'm like, okay, you're stretching my faith, you're growing my faith for something. But I don't necessarily like when you're in the midst of that obedience season where it's really rough and you're like, God, I know you're good. However, this doesn't feel good. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
That's good. God, I know you're good. However, this doesn't feel good, but we trust you anyway, right?
Mhm,
So,
mhm.
talk to me or tell the viewers, what did it look like after you all started, or how long after that year? And I know you mentioned that people started, they blessed you with a car. Somebody
Mhm.
even gave you some cash. Um, and I'm assuming over time your income started to increase, right?
Right.
What did that look like, or what did that journey look like, with paying off debt as your income was increasing and deciding to actually maybe buy a home? What did that look like, and the faith that it required for you all to take that step?
Okay, so I will say 20. That was around 2017 when that all started. 2018, we were um my husband was working in full-time ministry because as he was doing the crazy story, he was doing the permanent sub position at this school, and he was volunteering in the warehouse for our church. And he worked logistics in retail, so it helped him like organize stuff, put systems in order, all the things. And so he was doing that, and they were like, well, can, can you work? And as they were asking him to do that position, that role, the permanent sub position was done, and they were like, actually, we won't be doing that anymore. And it was like God just had us for that one portion of time. So that was a school year that he was there, and then started straight into working for our church. And then I started there part time because I was just like, I was at home with my little girl, and she was a little feisty one, and I was like, I need a break. So I would just volunteer every Friday, and she would go to my stepmom's house, and she would watch her, and I would just volunteer. And so I started there part-time soon after, and everything was starting to look up. And so we moved into a house that we were renting for a while. And even how we got that into that house was just a blessing. How we got a vehicle that was in working order, and that we were able to bring another baby into without thinking, oh, this car is going to stop on the side of the road. Um, it was just, all of that was a blessing. And so once we got into a rhythm of working and then rebudgeting everything,
Mm.
then we paid everything off. Girl, we paid everything off. We cut up the cars and all the thing, and we were like, it's going to be great cash. And that's what we were doing for a long time. And we had a really low car note. Like, everything was manageable. It was good, great. And then we were like, we really want to own something, because it's great to rent, but we want
Mm.
to own something. And we had talked about in the future renting out a place that we owned, and just different business ideas, but that takes owning something first. And so we started that process. So 2018 to 2020. Um, in 2020, we were like, man, we have another child coming. So this is child number 3 coming. um, we love each other, obviously. We kept having babies. And so 2020, we have another child. Nope, we weren't pregnant yet. That was towards the end of 2020. But we started, we want to own something, but we didn't really have a whole lot saved up. We paid off the debt, and our budget was manageable, but we didn't have a lot saved up. And we began, okay, what does it take to own things? And one day the Lord woke me up and was like, look up this stuff, look up that, look up that. And so I started once again, okay, God, you said go, I'm going to go, prepare. And my husband had the same like vigor inside of him. What do we need to do to own something, to buy some property? And he started watching Anthony O'Neill, which is a little bit different than Dave Ramsey, but it was our version, because Dave Ramsey talks a lot about buying things with cash. Well, when you don't have the cash and the credit's bad, you
Baby.
paid it off, but you don't have any, then, because that's what, 3 years without any credit after we paid it all off. So it's like, outside of the car that we had, we were like, okay, we're gonna have to do something different. And so we just got into this plan of staying within our budget, staying within our means, saving what we could. And then in order to build our credit, we had a small credit card, and we paid it right off. As soon as we use it, paid it off. Gas, pay it off. Groceries, pay it off. Just so we could build up credit. And just the way the Lord did things, it was just so much favor in it. And even with buying our house that we're in now, that we desire to be a rental property in the future, it was just so much ease, because we didn't have to have a large down payment because of Harvey and different things that happened there. This was our first home buying. We were able to get a huge grant to help with the down payment. We just had a little bit that we had to pay. And it was just ease. And I'm so grateful that we listened to God even when He closed doors that we wanted, because
Mm.
there were homes that we had looked at and we were like, "Oh my gosh, this is it. We love it." And then somebody else would buy it or they would sell it. Like, we went through this process for about 8 months before we actually found our house. Um, and I was like, "Okay, God, like, what is there?" And where we were going to buy at first wouldn't have allowed us to use the grant from the city of Houston. And so, just how God aligned things when you listen to His voice and you allow Him to shut the doors that need to be shut so He can open the doors that need to be open. Um, it's so much sweeter. It's not always smooth. It's sometimes frustrating. We don't like it all the time. One scripture that me and my husband still use to this day is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths. Do not be wise in your own eyes. That's actually verse 7. Fear the Lord and turn away from evil. And so, in everything we do, it's like, okay, God, you direct our path. And it's not always comfortable, it's not always smooth, but in the end, like, God loves us. He's not gonna just leave us out there stuck. And everything that we've been through, it's all been a learning lesson. That's all been Him uh, creating new hearts within us. It's all been Him taking out pride, giving us humility, filling us with the fruit of the Spirit, and helping us to grow. So I'm grateful for even the rough seasons.
So it's something that you said here that I want to just kind of shine a light on. So many of us would have gone through that particular season of wanting a house, the hardships, um, and then starting to move ahead of God, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Knowing that you hear from Him, but then trying to balance your desires with His. But it sounds like
Right.
every step of the way you all were leaning and depending on God's guidance for your next step, right?
Mhm.
Truly shining a light on your path. And had you all have started to do it within your own strength, you would have a very different testimony, right? Some of the things that worked out, like you mentioned the grant, if you all would have done it and moved ahead of God, then that grant that helped
Mhm.
you financially to stay ahead, to continue to stay debt free, you wouldn't have had access to that, right? And God
Right.
is faithful and things like that, but nothing is ever wasted. But I think here is one of the things where it's like sometimes we trust God in those hard moments. And then we feel
Yeah.
like, okay, I got it. I got it. I can do it on my own, right? And then we try to do it on our own. And then we make a
Mhm.
mess of things. And then we go back
Yeah.
to God like, and He's so gracious, right? And then
Mhm.
we give it over to Him. He fixes it. We follow. We listen. We're obedient. And then it's like, okay, I got it. And then we tried on our own. But it sounds like you and Sean were very committed to wait. We don't have this. And
Mhm.
we know we
Right.
don't have it. God, you're going to have to do it all. And we are going to just stay committed to being obedient. And in order for us to be obedient, you got to lead. So,
Right.
yeah,
Now,
that's good.
we almost got into an incident where we were in a house, like, in a suburb area. I mean, we live in the city now, but we were going to buy a house. And I just was not, I was like, I'm not feeling this price. It's like $40,000 over. And it was like, they were like, oh no, but it'll work out. And I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. The backyard was big, it was lush, it was all these things. And now that very same neighborhood, because of taxes and all the things and all the houses that they built up around it, that
Wow.
house would have been,
Way
it would have killed
outside.
us.
Hmm.
Yeah, it would have killed us, the following year when you're in the house and now you
Yeah.
gotta pay all these other fees and things. And so I'm like, those are the moments where I'm like, while that was beautiful, I'm
Yeah.
so glad that we listened to God.
Yeah. And that, what's so interesting, because that reminds me of that scripture. It was just like, your ways are not our ways, right?
Mhm.
But, even with that, He has a plan for us, and that plan is to prosper us, and it's not to harm us. And if we
Right.
trust Him, as beautiful as His house is, and while we can afford it today, we have to
Right.
trust you, trust this feeling that I have. I trust the nudging of the Holy Spirit that I may not understand it. And I may not have all the details, but something about this isn't adding up and it's not right. And now you can look back on it and be like, that was nothing but protection. Because
Right.
working a full time ministry, you don't know if the Lord is going to keep you at this church, if He's going to move you to another church, if He's going to move you to another country, but He knows. And so trusting the Holy Spirit in those moments and not debating with the Holy Spirit in those moments is truly the protection. And maybe that was for me because sometimes it's like I hear it and it's like, well, no, let me walk this out with you. No, I just need you to listen and trust me. We could talk about it later, but I need you to listen and trust me and just be obedient.
Yeah.
And you can ask questions a little later. That's funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah, sometimes we try to try to put that one hand on the wheel. Let me help you drive.
Right here,
I
give me
got it.
that little
I,
finger.
I can help you. I think you need to turn here. And he's like, nah, I got it. I got it. So yeah.
So at what point, so you guys are you so you buy the house, right? And I want to make this very practical because I feel like it is my prayer that through these stories that we highlight this month, that people see real people, right?
Hmm.
That are living real lives, that are trying to
Hmm.
walk out their faith in real time.
Hmm.
It because it is my belief that this is how the power of a testimony. if if DeLisa can do it, if Angela can do it, if any of our guests this month can do it, you can do it too, right? And so practically, when you buy a new house and you're married and you want, all of the furnishings, you want a place for your family to sit and watch TV and play games and connect, and you want a dining room table, and you want to make it a home, right? God gave us this wonderful gift to make a house a home. And that just requires some things, right? Some things that
Yep.
I know my husband feels like it's unnecessary, but that little tchotchke, these little things that we buy, it pull it all together. But those little
Yeah.
things that pull it all together cost money, right? And so
Yeah.
in leveraging what we learned in the hard seasons, how did you balance? Okay, we're in our home, and what a blessing it is. And now I want to make it a home. How did you do that without, or maybe, how did you do that with balancing not going back into debt and not digging yourself into a deeper hole? Talk about that.
Um, I will say there were very much things where I was like, through our whole marriage, because we got married as college students, we've borrowed this or gotten this from this person. I don't want to do that. So it was like slowly putting things into our house.
Okay.
That was one thing. There were some major things which we at the time had the cash for because we didn't have to use a lot of our money
I'm sorry. I'm
to
sorry. Just for the people, there were certain things you had the cash for. Okay. Go
yes.
ahead. Go ahead. Uh huh. Uh huh.
So we wanted a specific refrigerator. We had the cash to buy it. It was on sale, and they wound up messing it up and
Hmm.
denting it and having to fix it. So they then took off $400 more,
Amen.
and so I got it. um, and then there was a dining table that we really, really wanted, and I wanted a all wood, like real wood dining table. Like, don't ask me why. I was just like, I seen someone else's, and it's like fits 10 people, and I wanted my own, and not necessarily that it fits in my house, but I did it. And so there were some pieces that I was like, I want this. We've had hand-me-downs. This is what I want in our house. And there were pieces that I slowly, and I'm still like mix matching, like, do I like this? But I will, and you know this because you've been to my house,
Hmm.
like just trusting in God. I don't know how I get some of the things I get. And I just be like, okay, God, I'm gonna trust you. Cause there are days where I'm like, I just want to redo it all.
Mm.
And I want to have the money to redo it all and have all the things and all the this and all the that. And somehow I started reviewing things that I had purchased in the past for Wayfair. And through that, I somehow got a part of this program. Well, I now get free furniture and
Amen.
free things.
Amen.
So like just the depending on the Lord, doing being wise, not according to the world standard, because the world standard will have you house poor, trying to keep up with everybody else. But doing things wisely, and not to say that we're perfect in it, because we still make mistakes sometimes, but trusting God in the margins
Mhm.
of that He's given you. Like this is what He's blessed me with, so I'm going to trust you with that, and then I'm going to trust you to supply the needs. And there are a lot of times where I go to God and I'm like, God, man, this is a real need that we have. And in order to do this, and this that you called us to do, this is something that we need. And somehow, some way, the Lord just finds a way to bless us. But I would say continue being wise and frugal and trusting God with the little you have, and then he'll know that he can trust you with that little and he'll bless you with much. um, and that's the biggest thing for me. And even it also takes being uncomfortable, because there are a
Mhm.
lot of times we're like, oh, you want to go to this birthday dinner or this or that, and I'm like, no, we eat at home.
Yeah, I
We've
would
got
like to
Chick-fil-A
go.
at home.
However, we're
Right.
gonna stay at home. Yeah.
We've got
I'm
Chick-fil-A at home, kids. We've got
we really do.
it. And so, I mean, and then, gladly, there's a lot of things, processed things out there. So I'm like, hey, we have it at home. We really have it at home. And so it takes a lot of sacrifice, and you have to be willing to do that to get where you want to get in life, to not constantly be in debt, to not constantly owe man things. But to be able to just pour, like there are moments where I'm glad that we were obedient to God, because we were able to bless a single mom or do
Mm,
something for someone, that we probably would not have if we didn't stay in those uncomfortable moments where it's like, dang it, I don't want to eat at home. I don't feel
mhm.
like cooking. Like I
That's
don't.
good.
So it takes sacrifice.
So when you look back at
Obedience and sacrifice.
your entire like this story as you telling it, what part of the journey are you most proud of?
I think for me is continuing to trust God even in the hard moments.
Mhm.
Even in the moments where it's like, Lord, take me to heaven. I took a nap and I was better. But I think trusting Him in the hard moments, because it's easy to trust God when it's easy.
Mhm.
It's hard to trust God when it looks nothing like what He said. And so, and we're not even going to talk about like the spiritual things that we were going through in those different seasons, like
Mhm.
the warfare that we were going through, the challenges that we faced, even in ministry, in the same seasons as we're like trusting God to do this. And it's like, oh,
You're
this
being
is
attacked
falling
over
apart
here.
over here. And so it honestly, spending time in God's presence and trusting Him. And I think, had we not, in 2020, when the world was like shut down and some people were in array and some people were going crazy, if we didn't take that time to truly, for us, we took that time to grow closer to God and closer to like our children, and spend time with them outdoors and pray and seek God's face. I think if in those moments we didn't cherish those moments and spend time with God to hear Him, then we wouldn't have gotten to where we are now.
Mm.
Just we I don't know how we would have made it. We probably would have went off on the deep end, because there were just things around us that didn't match up to what, hey, this is what you said, God, and this is what we're trusting you in. It didn't look like that. And so I think that's just trusting Him even when it's hard.
That's good. So let me ask you this. How did or how does this journey redefine what is possible for you financially?
I think all of it is remaining focused on what God said,
Hmm.
what God is telling you to do. Also, budgeting,
Hmm. 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 Hmm.
budgeting, because then, I mean, when you work in ministry, it's not like you're, oh, I'm working to get this raise. So it's not the same. And so you're still working with a margin
Mhm.
that's not the same as the rest of the people
Mhm.
that we may have gone to school with or something. We'll just say
Mhm.
that for example. So it's not the same playing field, but just being obedient and okay, I'm not running from this, but also like, okay, God, what else can I do? What else? What gifts that you've given me in my hands that I can use? So whether it be investing, whether it be my husband and I wrote books, just different ways. So okay, God, you've given all these gifts to us. How can we use these gifts to help others, but to also provide for our family?
That's good. That's good because I think a lot of times we only see increase in terms of income, but not in
Hmm.
terms of mindset and also capacity. How can
Hmm.
we take what you've given us and expand um, and multiply by way of using our gifts? And I think a lot of times people will use the excuse, man, if I had more money, I would be able to
Yeah.
do more. And you talked a little bit about this. You didn't go into detail, but I know the story where you, whatever you had, being able to do these reviews for Wayfair allowed you to get a new couch, and then you were able to bless someone with the couch that you had. And I think that that is that type of open-handedness where the Lord is saying, hey, because you're not tied to this, because your value isn't rooted in this, because
Hmm.
you recognize that I am the source, I can continue to give you and trust you with more. And that
Yeah.
to me, I think, man, I think it's the biggest takeaway from your testimony is even when the world may see working in ministry as lack, you are rich in what you're able to do, and and because of that, now other people will turn and trust God even more because of the works that He's
Yeah.
done through you all.
Yeah.
To include your kids, right? You got 4 kids that
Hmm.
are going to grow up understanding and trusting God. It's almost like a cheat code. It's almost like the answers to the test because of your obedience. They now don't have to try to have to figure it out on their own. They'll have to,
Right.
develop their own relationship. But you
Right.
guys are
Right. Right.
walking this out in real life, stuff that you had to find out the hard way, right?
Right.
Man, what a blessing. What a
And
blessing.
anytime like God blesses us, we are also mindful to let them know, or if it's something that we're praying for, to let them know, hey, this is what God did. And so they see they see packages sometimes. They're like, "Mommy, is that Wayfair again?" So we didn't have to buy it.
We don't listen, listen, listen. This is what
So
faith
and
will
they're
do.
right. And so there are other things that we're like, hey, we're able to do this because God opened the door for us and someone blessed us or God blessed us in this way. And I think that is one of the greatest gifts as well, is to see um my dad and stepmother were in ministry as well. And I feel like I didn't see the great side of it. um and the ability to show my kids how God is faithful is truly a blessing. And
That
so
listen, you said something there, and man, I love this, is because we often hear the negative of ministry. We see it, I mean, for a while there, every other day or every other week, we were seeing the negative side of
mhm,
ministry work. And I think anybody who served in a church or gone to church maybe has experienced, there's so many of us that's experienced church hurt.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
that part gets highlighted a lot, right? And it gets a lot of attention. And I'm not saying that it's not real and it shouldn't, but and then there's the flip side, and it seems to be the extreme opposite of the blessings of the Lord in prosperity gospel, right? Where
yeah,
it's like, he didn't gave me $1 million and a jet, right? And it's only for a select few who
yeah,
have tapped into that level of God's grace and mercy. And we just gonna leave that right there. There's
yeah,
very little people talking about the everyday blessings, the
Mhm.
everyday benefits, the everyday testimonies, and the good parts of ministry work. Um, Especially when it comes to finances, right? If you are
Mhm.
living somewhat well, then obviously you're not trusting the Lord. Like that is a lie from the pits of hell, and we
Right,
ain't go there
right.
immediately. But nobody is really just talking about, man, this is what it looks to trust the Lord. And that means you can also invest. You
Yeah,
can also save. You can also
right.
go on vacations. You can also spring for upgraded seats. You can also buy yourself something nice. It is making sure that God is the source and that money has not
Right.
become an idol. And what does that
Mhm.
really look like in real life? And I think if more people would talk about that, um, I think that people would have a better understanding of God's love, grace, and
Mm,
hearing from Him to really submit this part of your life to Him and what that actually may look like for you. Um, so, man, listen, we could talk about this all day. I love talking about this faith and finances. If there is one thing that you want to leave the listeners with, whether it is affirmation, a
mhm,
tip, um, whatever, something that they could just be like, listen, even if it's a call to action, right? Whatever that is,
mhm.
what would that be for them?
I would say, first of all, and I know you're gonna love this one, to make a budget.
Please, y'all heard it here. Don't just take it from me. Go make a budget.
So even I will tell you, everything has increased. And we have 4 kids now. Everything has increased. Grocery bill, all the things. And last year we were looking around and we were like, because with our last child, I had to not work full time anymore. And so, but if I worked full time, then it was paying a whole 2 more mortgages to put our 2 boys in daycare. And I was like, it's the math isn't mathing. Like, okay, God, what are we doing here? And so that's why that is one of the reasons I am homeschooling all of our kids at the moment. Um, because it was just the prices were all crazy. And so that required me to step away from full time. And so we were looking at the budget and we did the budget. We wrote all the numbers and we were like, there's a deficit. But somehow, because we wrote it down, we were able to see it. Like we were able to, okay, God, where is it that I can do something different? What is it that I can do? How can we make this up? And between just favor of the Lord of like random checks from like, you overpaid this bill. What? I don't even remember paying you guys. Who are you? Like just different things like that. And um, I started back sewing some last year, just different areas that God was able to provide. But we still wrote it, even though we knew that there was a deficit
Mhm.
and we were filling that deficit. I still wrote down the budget and said, okay, God, this is where we need you to work, help us. And so creating that budget, but also partnering with God in that budget. Okay,
That's
God,
good.
where can I release some things?
Mhm.
Because honestly, I feel like in our culture, it's it's always begging for us to buy more, to satisfy some itch or whatever to, but we're never fulfilled. There's always a newer phone. There's
Always.
always a newer house, a bigger
Always.
house, a nicer car. There's always something begging for your attention to buy. And so, being faithful to what you have, creating a budget, whether you're in a deficit or not, and trusting God to do the rest, and then following the steps that He gives you, whether it's a business idea, whether it's investment opportunities, whether it's uh, a second job, whatever the case may be, being open to, okay, God, I want to do right and my finances by you and for my family to provide for my family and allowing him to work in that.
That's so good. That's good. Oh man, I want to keep talking, but I want to let you go because you have a whole family. A whole family. So listen, for those that are listening, still here joining us, this was so good. Such a great conversation. This episode, this testimony is proof that your starting point does not have to determine your outcome. And what looked like a setback, losing stability, damaged credit, uncertainty, became the foundation for something greater. But not just because of what they learned, but because of how they responded. They chose, DeLisa and Sean chose discipline when it was hard, obedience when it did not make sense, and consistency when the results weren't immediate. And that is a real takeaway. Transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when your faith and your action align. Listen, if this conversation challenged you, take a moment to reflect on what preparation looks like in your own life. How are you able to be obedient? And then where are you trusting God or not trusting Him fully? Listen, if you're a part of the membership community, check your membership portal. We're about to go a little bit deeper into the parts of this journey that does not get shared publicly. I want you to remember these two things. Breakthrough starts when you take control, and wealth is not built by accident. It is built by the decisions that you make today. I'll see you next time.